All right. What is up, everybody? We are back at it again. We are destroying some more lands again today. I uh, I have an addiction at this point with casting Price of Freedom and Cleansing Wildfire. We are on a slightly different version of land destruction today, though. Recently, we've been playing two color and even three color versions of the deck. Today we are playing a mono red version of land destruction. So what we get with mono red is we still have our package of 4 flashback, 4 cleansing wildfire, 4 price of freedom, 4 Avengers disassembled, and magmatic hellkite legend of Roku. We have this core package from the Boros deck. But now that we're in mono red, it makes our mana base a lot smoother. So we still have our package of Demolition Field, Field of Ruin, and Sunken Citadel to power these up. But we just get 11 basics now. And we are going to be on snow-covered mountains today so we can turn on Frostbite. So Frostbite says do 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker, and then if we control 3 or more of the snowlands, we do 3 damage instead. Notably, this can hit planeswalkers, and what we want to see today is, does this feel better if we're on a bunch of snow basics than Fiery Impulse? So Fiery Impulse sometimes is a little bit slow to turn on in this deck, especially if we're on a Demolition Field heavy draw. So I want to test out Frostbite, and shout out to Badfish for giving me the idea for this Frostbite version of the deck. So the rest of it, just filling out the mono red version, is we got 3 Scorching Shots. A little bit awkward with the double red and all of these colorless sources, but I do think having something that answers Shieldred is important enough in this list. Shieldred it's really good against Fable, and the life gain can be really annoying. So I do think that Scorching Shot is better than some of the other 2 mana sorceries that do a bunch of damage to creatures, but a lot of them are only 4. So we're going to be testing Scorching Shot today. We're on 4 Fable of the Mirror Breaker, just one of the best red cards in Pioneer. Makes treasures, it lets us discard cards that are bad in the matchup, and just wins the game if it goes unanswered. Using Legend of Roku, this combination of Fable of the Mirror Breaker plus Legend of Roku has proved itself many times that this is all we really need to win the game. These 2 cards by themselves will eventually just outgrind and create enough creatures that we can just attack to win. So we don't have to dedicate any slots to like bad cards that are only there to win the game. These 2 provide value and win the game. The only flex spot I think is Fin Fang Foom. This card has had some lower lows but some really high highs in the Boros version of the deck, so I do want to give it one more try in a mono red version of this list. It's the new card. It just feels right to give it a shot here too. Other options are like Chandra, Torch of Defiance. There is a Koth that deals damage based on how many mountains. I do like the idea of playing a 4-mana Planeswalker that comes down and can immediately affect the board and then start to get card advantage on the following turns. But Fin Fang Foom, it's the new card. It also has some crazy high upside, as we've seen in the Boros deck. So I want to try it here in the mono red version of the deck too. Mana base is super simple. Just our package of 11. This package of 11 cards, 4 Demolition Field, 4 Field of Ruin, 3 Sunken Citadels, and then just a bunch of snow-covered mountains. I looked at some other utility lands. I thought about playing Quarry Steel Monastery and just accepting that it would always be a tap land, but with the Frostbite, I want to be on as many snow-covered mountains as possible so we can have it turned on by turn 3. As far as the sideboard is concerned, I've been seeing more Lotus Field decks again. So Alpine Moon's back in. It's annoying that in our land destruction deck, Lotus Field has indestructible, so we do need an answer for it. We are on 3 of the Flowstone infusions. This card might look a little bit strange, but it's actually just a card for specifically the Orzhov Greasefang decks. I've been seeing a little bit more of them on Arena recently. It's been doing really good in the MTGO challenges, so an answer to their indestructible creatures. 2 Red Cat melees for any red decks, some Soul Guide Lanterns. There's been quite a few graveyard decks. So I think this is the best option as far as graveyard hate is concerned for mono red. And for Magebane Lizards, I think this is one of the strongest sideboard cards that red has. So when we're in a mono red deck, we want to play the strong sideboard cards. This card can just solo a lot of decks. Any of the Is It decks that we see in the meta. This card solos it. There's an argument that we could want some ley lines. Oh, excited to see how sideboard goes with it. What's up, Badfish? Yeah, super excited to play this deck today. See how Frostbite performs. But I think that's it for the deck tech. Let's go ahead and hop into some matches. Match number 1, love to see it. But we do not have a keepable hand. Well, this hand isn't great, but we're going to keep it on 6, hoping that this is a matchup that Field of Ruin is good in. We are against mono red aggro. Field of Ruin is terrible in this matchup, so kind of a brutal one to have double Field of Ruin effect. At least we were on the play. Opponent has a turn 2 Emberheart Challenger that gets a 1/1 counter from Kumano. I will say, I was thinking about the matchups for this deck, and I do think that mono red is one of our worst matchups that we can have. Opponent flips the Etchings. If they have a removal spell for this Goblin Shaman, I think we're going to go to game 2. They don't have a removal spell, but they do have a Screaming Nemesis. We're down to 10. We draw Cleansing Wildfire. Let's discard Field of Ruin plus Legend of Roku. Now let's just discard only Field of Ruin, keep the other cards. All right, play Snow-Covered Mountain. Play Fin Fang Foom as a blocker. I think we have to block the Screaming Nemesis this turn. We'll see what they play. We're dead to a lot of things here. Opponent has a Kumano. Emberheart Challengers up to 4. Just now off making by 16 rares. That's okay. And if they have a spell here, we're dead. They have a spell here, so we are dead. 16 rare, man, that... I'm a little pinched on wild cards right now. 16 rares. It's close, but it's also a ways off. Let's go Magebane Lizards in, Flowstone Infusions in. This is a matchup that we just have so many cards that we want to board out. So Cleansing Wildfire's out, Price of Freedom's out, and we could even cut a Field of Ruin, I think. Click Submit. I do think Chandra is probably better than Fin Fang Foom in this list, but I wanted to give it one last shot before we pivot off of it. It's felt all right in Boros. I think maybe in these lists you maybe play one of. I think 3 is likely too much for the long term. This hand is All right. If a hand is going to beat mono red out of this deck, this is it. We have a removal spell on turn 1. We have a removal spell on turn 2. Well, we don't get to cast a removal spell on turn 2. We have an Avengers disassembled. All right, opponent just has a Kumano. So we are going to save this Avengers disassembled. Destroying a basic mountain and letting them get another basic mountain doesn't do anything. And we want to try to get a 2-for-1 with this. All right, let's... So we can Scorching Shot, or alternatively we can Fin Fang Foom. Let's Scorching Shot get this off the battlefield. Play a Sunken Citadel on red. It's just too bad if they have a Reckless Rage there to get to draw a card with the Emberheart Challenger. All right, opponent has a Sunspire Lynx. We have an answer to that. All right, so we can Demolition Field, Ramunap Ruins. No, there's no way that we can. Alternatively, we Avengers disassembled, but we don't have enough red mana to flash back the Frostbite, so let's Demolition Field this Ramunap Ruins. Get another mountain. And then play Demolition Field for turn and just kill this Sunspire Lynx. We're taking another 2 this way. This is a very hard matchup. We have no life gain. We end the game super slow. Opponent has a Legend of Roku. Let's see what they hit off of it. Kumano, Monstrous Rage, Rockface Village. Nice to see this so we can play around it. We'll see if they just... No, they play a Soulscar Mage. Okay. So we take 2. Wish there was a decent... Yeah, I think the best mana rock in Pioneer is... Oh, sorry. Cancel this. We want to tap the Demolish. Yes, we tap the... If we tap the Demolition Field here... We can leave up Flashback for Frostbite to deal with a haste creature. I like that. So Avengers disassembled. Let's destroy... Sure, we can go after the Rockface Village. Destroy both their creatures. We know about the Monstrous Rage, so I do want to leave up Flashback for Frostbite to play around that. So they add a red. Yeah, this matchup is horrible for us. Like when I was thinking about like what decks we do and don't want to play against with this mono red version of the deck, like just mono red prowess is it's such a disaster. It makes me wonder with how popular mono red is right now if just Boros is the way to go. So this turn, all right, we will double block the Emberheart Challenger. Well, so we can't beat Monstrous Rage. Let's throw Magebane Lizard in front. It looks like, so they have Monstrous Rage. Oh, they have Reckless Rage. Okay. That's fine. This doesn't have Trample. So we save 4 damage. Oh. And they have a Monstrous Rage. Okay, well, we... and they hit another Monstrous. Okay, good game. I wonder, is there a good sideboard card that we can have in this deck that makes this matchup better? Dragon's Claw isn't in Pioneer and wouldn't even... Doesn't even save us. Maybe more Sweltering Suns, but sweepers don't even beat mono, like this version of mono red. Oh, opponent is on something spicy. Watery Grave into Mox Amber. Is this the Esper Legends list? Looks like it is. All right. So we need to kill this. Hopefully they don't have a Spell Pierce. All right, no Spell Pierce. All right, play this Demolition Field, and let's go after Watery Grave. 3 damage, 3. Yeah, we're 2 turns away from 3 damage on Frostbite, but okay. Oh, Tiny Bones joins up, so we have to discard a card. I'm sorry, Fin Fang Foom. You're the worst card in our hand, buddy. Thank you for your service. All right, opponent not having anything is nice. I think we just slam Fable here. Odds they have a Fatal Push looks like pretty high. Okay, so they just have a Fatal Push. Still going to cheer it up. Yeah, that's the biggest thing I want to see today is how good is Frostfire. All right, opponent has a Deceit, but that's fine. They can take 1 card from us. They take an Avengers Disassembled. That leads me to believe that they are pretty low on basics. All right, let's... Are we discarding anything here? I think we're actually just... Yeah, let's just keep our hand and play Demolition Field for turn and play this Legend Oroku. All right, quite a... I don't think we can cast both of these. This is 7 mana total. All right, opponent has another Deceit, so they can take the other Avengers Disassembled. But we're fine just trading 1 for 1 with a lot of these cards. Yes, we're 1 mana away from being able to cast everything. So we add a red here. Play this Snow-Covered Mountain. And actually, let's Fin Fang Foom. So let's Demolition Field, Underground Sea, and then Fin Fang Foom. See if they have any basics left. Opponent has a basic Swamp. So if their last card is another copy of Fatal Push, it looks okay. So their last card is another copy of Fatal Push. But they now have to top deck an answer to Reflection and Legend of Roku. So we are in a pretty good spot here. Legend of Roku flips. Play another mountain and let's just get in for 2. Activate Demolition Field plus leave up Flashback for a removal spell. We're in such a good position here that we don't need to aggressively go after their lands when we're just going to win by attacking over 2 turns. So we'll discard Scorching Shot here. An opponent concedes. Okay. This feels like a much better matchup than Mono Red. So sideboarding, let's go Magebane Lizards in. Fin Fang Foom's out. 1 copy of Fable the Mirror Breaker out. And click Submit. I'm assuming they're on a lot more creatures, so we don't want to trim any of our Scorching Shots. I think they had a pretty Fatal Push heavy draw. They were on Deceits too. Not exactly sure what our opponent's plan is. I'm assuming just some sort of blue-black legends list. All right, nice. We have a Sunken Citadel into Field of Ruin draw with Frostbite backup. Opponent has a Tiny Bones, joins up. We will discard Snow-Covered Mountain. Opponent has the Mox Amber. Sunken Citadel on red and pass the turn. Opponent has Loki, God of Mischief. Wow, that's actually a very cool combo. I like that. Draw a card off the Tiny Bones, joins up. How risky is it to let them have a blue mana? It's a little bit risky, but it's a risk that I'm going to take. We have to get through a Spell Pierce anyway. They can cast a Spell Pierce off this Mox Amber. Okay, and they just get a Swamp. Kill Loki. Loki down. Next turn, if they have another Loki, all right, they have a Thoughtseize, probably taking either the Avengers Disassembled or the Magmatic Hellkite. All right, they take the Price of Freedom. Do they have another creature to follow up? They do not. We draw a Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So we go Demolition Field on Darkslick Shores. Alternatively, now let's get this Fable down. Fable into Hellkite is a pretty decent recipe. And if this trades for a Fatal Push, we're fine with that. All right, let's see. Opponent is untapping with 3 mana and a Mox Amber. They play a Watery Grave untapped for turn and pass the turn again. Let's discard nothing, as crazy as that sounds. Or we can discard 1 Sunken Citadel. Sure, discarding this second Sunken Citadel seems fine. Play Snow-Covered Mountain, go to combat. Get in with our Goblin Shaman, create a treasure. And let's just cast this Magmatic Hellkite. I'm not sure what kind of interaction they could have or what cards are in their hand. If we turn on Revolt and then they Fatal Push Hellkite, we're okay with that. All right, opponent gets another Swamp. Looks like they do have a Fatal Push. But like I said, we're currently untapping with Goblin Shamans. We have 2 more pieces of land destruction in our hand. All right, let's do a quick test for basics. So go after one of the Darkslick Shores. And opponent is out of basic lands. So now we can just destroy away. And opponent scoops it up. They know. The draw here, yeah, again, with another hand that can just really attack their basics. The issue that I was having with this deck was decks that are playing like more than 5 basic lands. We really start to lose some of our... We just have a lot of dead cards in the deck. All right, we are against blue-white control. Go after Verge. If they want a Field of Ruin, our Sunken Citadel, we're fine with that because it gets another basic out of their deck. And we have 11 basics, so we're not going to run out of basic mountains to get. That's been one thing that has been really nice about this mono red version. All right, opponent gets another, or gets a Plains because they have basic island. And they just slam a Wandering Emperor on their turn. Wow, okay. So we play a Demolition Field for turn. We go after their Field of Ruin. And then we Price of Freedom a basic land. I like that line. And then that lets us go with a Magmatic Hellkite next turn. Alternatively, we Avengers Disassembled. But no, getting this Field of Ruin off the battlefield to protect our Sunken Citadel seems like good enough value. All right, opponent gets another basic island, grab a snow-covered mountain, and go after their island. Do they have a spell snare specifically? They do not have a spell snare. They should be out of basic islands now. Both blue-white decks we played against yesterday were on 2 islands, 2 plains. Aggro might be a better matchup for mine with Koth out. Yeah, and having Screaming Nemesis does make your version a bit better against aggro because you can actually aggro them out. All right, opponent makes another Samurai with the Wandering Emperor. They almost 100% have a counterspell here, so we just have to decide how we want to play around this potential counterspell. So we can go Demolition Field onto Hall of the Storm Giants to test the waters for basics. I like that. We're not under a ridiculous amount of pressure yet from the Samurais. We still have a turn or two to answer them. Okay, opponent's out of basics. With opponent being out of basics, we can cast Flashback on Price of Freedom this turn. And that pretty much forces a counterspell out of them. Or else it chokes them on blue. Alternatively, we just Avengers Disassembled and then Avengers Disassembled the Flashback. Or Flashback Avengers Disassembled, but I'm fine with Price of Freedom getting countered here. Yep, so they'll let the Flashback resolve and then counter the Price of Freedom. Yep, opponent has to change the equation. A little iffy on the Hellkite still. It being a 4-drop makes getting them... Yeah, I think Hellkite, though, is... I think it's worth it. It has been... The fact that it makes the land come into play tapped and actually wins the game by attacking, I think makes it worth it. All right, so let's... So if we Price of Freedom into a land, it's crazy. Yeah, let's Price of Freedom this island. Yeah, I don't know, just for the... Yeah, that's one thing I was realizing when looking at lists the other day was... Or, like, yesterday when I was thinking about this list. All right, opponent is out of islands. Pass to our second main phase is the 4-drop slot is very congested in this deck. All right, opponent kicks... Oh, they don't kick it, Consult the Star Charts, because they don't have double blue. Okay. This resolves. We don't draw an untapped land to Avengers Disassembled this turn. But we do draw a Price of Freedom. All right, opponent did not find a blue source with the Consult the Star Charts, it looks like. So they're... Because they didn't find a blue source... Let's just go Sunken Citadel on red. Go after basic plains. Put them down to just 1 plains, 1 Field of Ruin, plus what they drew off Consult the Star Charts. Part of me wants the links. Oh, they did find a blue source. Okay, that's a bit worse for us. We are dead. Okay, we find a Price of Freedom. That's really good. So now we can Price of Freedom Hollowed Fountain. Looks like they found a counterspell. No More Lies can resolve. Decline to pay. And now we will Avengers Disassembled. The Hollowed Fountain. Clean up these samurais, and we should be good to go here. Notably, Frostbite being able to hit Planeswalkers is huge this game. If this was a Fiery Impulse, we would still be needing to find an answer to Wandering Emperor. But us being able to play Magmatic Hellkite plus Frostbite the Wandering Emperor this turn is, which we can do, right? Yeah. So we Field of Ruin, this Meticulous Archive. Oh yeah. So we Field of Ruin, Meticulous Archive, get a mountain, Magmatic Hellkite, Field of Ruin, and then Frostbite the Wandering Emperor. And blue-white control has been controlled. Opponent is down to a basic plains. The basic plains is going to die next turn, and they scoop it up. All right, mono red just easily taking down blue-white control here. We still got 2 games to go, but that felt really good. Frostbite hitting Planeswalkers was the difference maker there. Scorching Shots out. Magebane Lizards in. 1 Fin-Fang Foom out. We brewed Blue-White's Nemesis. So one thing that I was thinking about yesterday with this deck is Magus of the Moon a card that we want in Pioneer? Because Magus of the Moon would also be Blue-White's Nemesis. I don't think that that's necessarily a card that we want. I was looking at the avatar Magus of the Moon that you have to pay 7 mana for. All right, opponent's on a mulligan to 6. We have a Sunken Citadel plus a Field of Ruin. Yeah, it would be. I agree. I think it'd be too powerful. But it would be fun. At least for the person playing it. But I think Wizards has made a pretty conscious decision to keep those kinds of effects out of the format. No Blood Moons. All of the effects like that are pretty reasonable. All right, Sunken Citadel on red, pass the turn. It's also nice in this version of the deck that we never have to think about what color we're naming. Oh, opponent is on a mulligan to 5 and drew a basic island. Rough for them. Let's just go Field of Ruin. Go after... Yeah, pass the turn. Oh, Spreading Seas would be fun. Again, I don't think they'll... Opponent casts a High Noon. Oh, so they're on a mulligan to 4, basically. This card does almost nothing against us. Blow up. They're never activating this Field of Ruin, so go after it, Django. I'm a fan of Spreading Seas. All right. Play Snow-Covered Mountain. Yeah, Spreading Seas is a fun card. We awkwardly did play into counterspells a little bit here, but they're on a mulligan to 4. We can trade 1 for 1 for a counterspell here. Yep, opponent has a No More Lies. Oh, that would be... All right, opponent misses their lands drop. We'll play another Fable. Do they have another counterspell? Not another counterspell. I'd imagine they have some type of removal spell for this. Looks like they're thinking about a Get Lost. Oh, and they Get Lost the Reflection. Not sure about that one. Let's go exploring. Fin Fang Foom to the graveyard. And we drew a land this turn, so we can explore again. Get our value while they don't have a removal spell for the Goblin Shaman. Get in and let's just Cleansing Wildfire basic island. And opponent has a counter spell thinking about conceding. See what they have here. We're in a almost unlosable position, I think. I don't want to jinx it, but hard to see how they... Wow, they have the No More Lies. Interesting they waited so long on it. All right, we have an answer to this Meticulous Archive. Opponent has 2 more basics in the deck. So let's start this turn off with a... Demolition Field onto Archive plus play land, play Legend of Roku. Alternatively, we can cast this Magebane Lizard. You know, getting Magebane Lizard into play actually doesn't sound like the worst. Alternatively, we just slam Legend of Roku. Now, let's just go after their lands. Get this Magebane Lizard into play. Keep putting a lot of pressure on them. So Archive down. Get another Mountain into play. Attack with our 3/3 Goblin Shaman. Make another treasure. Get the Magebane Lizard into play. Opponent has a Wandering Emperor to exile the Goblin Shaman, and now we want to stop in their upkeep. Man, Frostbite hitting Planeswalkers is just been crazy today. All right, Wandering Emperor down. Like, if that was Fiery Impulse there, we don't have an answer to this Wandering Emperor. All right, we draw another Demolition Field. This gets them out of basic lands. Alternatively, we just cast this Legend of Roku. Yeah, let's just cast Legend of Roku. Did they draw another counterspell? They did not draw another counterspell, so this resolving... All right, we don't really hit much off of it. Play Snow-Covered Mountain and... Nah, we'll leave the Magebane Lizard back, play around a second Wandering Emperor. Opponent has a Get Lost. Sure. Opponent is fighting. They play a Meticulous Archive. We will Demolition Field that. I'm not sure they have a red source in their deck. They might have the Fountain Port to make a treasure for red mana, but so we can't play Fin Fang Foom plus Avengers Disassembled because of the High Noon. All right, Demolition Field, go after the Meticulous Archive. They'll get their last basic island. We will get a mountain and blow up an island. Pass the turn. This one's taking a little bit longer to win because they have had a decent pile of removal spells. All right, opponent has another Wandering Emperor. A little bit awkward timing for us because we're now locked out with this High Noon. So we can't Frostbite. But we have another Avengers disassembled to clean up any of these samurais, and Legend of Roku will be able to attack the Wandering Emperor. So one more Field of Ruin effect off the top should really put this one away. All right, we take 2. But this turn we're going to flip Legend of Roku. Okay, and we hit another Legend of Roku. That also should probably wrap this one up. You know, they're empty-handed. Oh, this is a little awkward. It actually kills our Legend of Roku to copy Avengers Disassembled. All right, so play... Yeah, we can actually wait another turn. All right, let's play Fin Fang Foom. Opponent is reading Fin Fang Foom, and let's map up Avatar Roku. Magmatic Hellkite. Yeah, sure. Leave Magmatic Hellkite on top. Make Avatar Roku a 6/6. Play Basic Mountain. Pass the turn. Did our opponent draw... They draw Narset Parter of Veils. So they need to find a Get Lost off of this. Opponent pluses up on the Samurai. Oh, but even if they... Oh, if they find a Get Lost, they can cast it on our turn. Opponent finds an Erode. So which one of our lethal creatures are they going to erode? And they don't... Yeah. They needed to stop us in our upkeep. They didn't. On the draw... But we have a decent hand as long as our Field of Ruin effects are good. This is a good hand. We are against Lightning, I think is this character's name. Opponent is on a basic forest, basic forest. Love that. What Field Artisan, I think, is the name of that card. Yeah, it looked really good against me. All right, opponent is on second forest into a Badger Mole Cub. So we'll play another mountain. That card enlisted. Yeah, I was impressed by it yesterday. It was really good against this. So if we kill this forest, it comes back. So we want to kill the non-reanimated forest. But double forest Badger Mole Cub, this feels like it could be a tough matchup for us. Our opponent has another Badger Mole Cub. And this, we need Avengers Disassembled. We do not draw an Avengers Disassembled. Let's play this Fable of the Mirror Breaker. But we need I think we need a top deck Avengers Disassembled this next turn, or we're pretty dead. An opponent makes 6 mana off of 2 forests. 2 to 3 Scavenger Grounds in the main. Yeah, that could be worth... There's... Main deck Graveyard Hate is... Okay, and now Avengers Disassembled doesn't do anything. Well, I said it at the top of the day that decks that are running a lot of basics are the worst matchups for us, and Mono Green Devotion, or just Mono Green Aggro, it runs a lot of basics. We don't have a lot of great sideboard options for our opponent's deck either. Magebane Lizard doesn't even do anything. Yeah. This matchup is... I'm not sure. Potentially we need to change our sideboard to be able to beat these decks with a lot of basics. I'm not sure what that looks like. Potentially, we have 8 cards to board out. So we board out Cleansing Wildfire plus Price of Freedom. And then what are we bringing in? Magmatic Hellkite's also really bad in these matchups. Our opponent's on a mulligan to 5. If we're going to win this matchup, that's pretty much what we need to have. Yeah, I need something to replace. The land destruction package is so many cards. It's pretty hard to board out of it. Is there any cheesy combos that we can run? That's what I am curious on. That potentially we just board out of the land destruction and board into some sort of combo in the sideboard. I'm not sure what that looks like though. Our opponent is attacking for their passing. Opponent stuck on 2 lands. We will Field of Ruin this Bossing Say. Opponent floats a green in their end step. Not... Do they have an instant? Alright. Opponent is just a floater to float. Let's play Legend of Roku. See what we exile. Another Legend of Roku Scorching Shot Flowstone would be nice if there was a red. Oh yeah, all the red lose a game triggers are instants and sorceries. Opponent has an Elvish Mystic. Well, this is brutal. I think we're just casting another Legend of Roku. If we hit... We hit a third Legend of Roku and a Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So that's Flowstone Infusion. It's probably just Elvish Mystic, right? Or no. Flowstone Infusion, the Forest. Because this can get caught up in a sweeper. Opponent has a tapped layer of the Hydra, and they have Sarek. And we just cannot find our Avengers Disassembled. So do we want a Fable or a Legend of Roku? I think we want this Fable down. Because Fable lets us discard some of these useless cards. Yeah, so let's cast this Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Whenever a creature you control would become the target of a spell or ability, draw cards. We just have to trade. Sure, give our opponent a card. They can take a 2-for-1 here. And blow up Lair of the Hydra. Are there any... Yeah, what sideboard jank could we go into? Opponent has a Badger Mole Cub. Opponent has a Llanowar Elf. If we ever draw an Avengers Disassembled this match, we are just in a great spot. Let's keep Magmatic Hellkite. Oh, why can we not draw Avengers Disassembled? Okay. We draw Field of Ruin, we draw Sunken Citadel. This turn, let's go Sunken Citadel on red, play second Fable. Play another Fable. We are letting them untap with a Badger Mole Cub. Or no, we can, let's flashback Frostbite. Yeah, flashback Frostbite. Kill the Badger Mole Cub, pass the turn. Or now we can get in with one Goblin Shaman. Make a treasure. And see, so our opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana, so they can plus tap one of their 1/1s. So they can get a 4-drop, so they can get the Ooze this turn. They just Nature's Rhythm X equals 2. They get another Badger Mole Cub. They Earthbend. They go to attacks. They pass the turn. We are going to discard Field of Ruin plus Magmatic Hellkite. We're just digging for Avengers Disassembled. We are allergic to drawing Avengers Disassembled. So let's go Snow-Covered Mountain, Scorching Shot the Badger Mole Cub, play another Fable of the Mirror Breaker. We don't have enough. Oh yeah, we can use a treasure to make a Firebending Dragon this way. Attack with Avatar Roku, Firebending 4, and now... I think leaving up flashback for a Frostbite is probably smarter here. So they're taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, going to 10. Yeah. It's so they go to 10. Now let's make a dragon. This puts a ton of pressure onto them. Use 2 treasures. Make a Firebending Dragon. Pass the turn. Let me know what you would have done here. Would you have left up a removal spell? Looks like we made the right call. We're going to game 3. I don't love where we're at. We're on the draw against this mono green deck. But we did manage to take a game where they're on a mulligan to 5. Is there... What about Ilharg the Raise Boar? That's a 5-drop. Is there anything that we can put into play with him that wins the game? What about... No, that Quintorius... I forgot what all of my sideboard equaled. I compensated for the mono green and Selesnya with Pyroclasms and Abrades. Okay. Yeah, a bunch of Pyroclasms. You can even go Fire Magics, Abrades. The only... That's definitely going to be good against Selesnya. I'm not sure that solves the mono green matchup. It makes it better for sure. And I was looking at running Pyroclasms in the sideboard. It just barely didn't make the cut. Is the 5-mana Luca banned in Pioneer now? I think it is. All right, kill this Elvish Mystic on turn 1. And we're just going to Cleansing Wild. Are we Cleansing Wildfiring this Demolition Field? I think we are. Yeah, because this just gets it so we have two mountains, and we're just never using two Field of Ruin effects. All right, opponent appears to be slightly flooding. Let's just play Sunken Citadel on red, pass the turn. We're flooding too. Looking forward to doing that. Oh, sorry. Alpine Moon can cut Nykthos off. Yeah. Alpine Moon's good at that, and also just soloing Lotus Field. Do we need to kill this? I don't think we need to kill this. So let's untap. Cast a Field of Ruin, pass the turn. We're starting to flood too. Red ramp is fun ramp, yeah. I really wanted to make Darksteel Citadel work in this deck. Krenko's like Super Dragon was something that I thought about. But you actually, the land has to be destroyed with that dragon card. Okay, do we care about this? I don't think we do. Sure. This is just indestructible till the end of the turn. Play a Field of Ruin, pass. Because we just have another Avengers disassembled. Oh my gosh, that's so... Ew. Well, we cut our answers to destroy this. All right, opponent gets in for 3. Passes the turn. We draw Cleansing Wildfire. We Avengers disassembled a forest. Opponent has another forest. We Cleansing Wildfire a forest. Well, they have to flood from here on out. I don't think we can beat this Great Henge almost ever. Play another Sunken Citadel on red. We're also flooding really badly. Our hand was good and we've just drawn all lands. Opponent, they draw land, or draw a creature. Brutal. And then a land, it looks like. So, I want to draw a card with this flashback. Yeah. We're flooding so much. So we're going to draw a card with this flashback. They have a way to answer this? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Go after a forest. They float a green, not... Do they have Collected Company? I'm not sure what they could have here. We draw another Demolition Field. I don't think we have to kill this Elvish Mystic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we've killed 10 forests. Potentially they're running out of forests soon. They have to have a non-forest land in hand. That's the only thing that makes sense that they're not playing. Because if they had any creatures, they would just be slamming them. Yeah, we need Legend of Roku's insane off the top. I'll even take a Fable of the Mirror Breaker, even though it's slower. Opponent's in the tank about something. They're reading the Great Henge. Opponent has an Invasion of Ikoria. Whenever this enters, search your library or graveyard for a non-human creature with mana value X or less. Put it onto the battlefield. And this will trigger the Great Henge. So our opponent tank plays a great card for them. They get Leatherhead, Hex. Why does it have Hexproof? Oh, because it... Oh, enters the battlefield with a Hexproof counter on it. Deals combat damage you may remove. Okay. I don't think we can beat that. Opponent plays a Bossing Say. Earthbends 2. Passes the turn. We will Field of Ruin the Bossing Say. I think we are pretty cooked here. Get a mountain. We need 11th basic land, and we draw a basic land. We will scoop it up. It's such a specific effect to stop like enchantments from triggering ETBs. Opponent has a basic plains into a basic island into a high noon. Well, I don't know what's going on today. Arena. Okay, opponent marches our token. Plays a Hamlet. We have an answer to this Hamlet, though. They name Mutavault. That was not the right card to name. Discard. Let's discard a Frostbite and 1 flashback. All right, nice. We find another Magmatic Hellkite. Magmatic Hellkites are going to be what win this game. Opponent gets a plains. See what they have. We'll see if this is all basics. Blue-white. Opponent has a Field of Ruin, but we don't care about that. Get in for 4. Artifacts and creatures. Yeah, but it doesn't stop enchantments. Okay, so are we... I think we're casting another Magmatic Hellkite. No, because they can just sack the Field of Ruin in response. So let's go... just cast this Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Okay. They blow up our Sunken Citadel. We don't care about that. This is actually, like, low-key kind of good for us because they... Yeah, see, they just sacked a land, and they don't have any basics left. 5-drop creature. That stops everything, right? Elish Norn, Mother of Machines. Let me read it real quick. All right, they have a second island. So looks like they're just standard blue-white control. All right, discard Scorching Shot. All right, we find a Cleansing Wildfire. That should... If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. If a permanent's entering the battlefield don't cause abilities or permanent... Okay. That's the answer for Boros land destruction. Yeah, we're going to put that in the sideboard. All right, opponent has a super obvious Wandering Emperor, but this gets them to tap out. And we get to just go after their lands now. Oh, wait, no, we don't. Wait, have we? Yeah, sorry. Yes, we do. We haven't cast a spell yet this turn. So Cleansing Wildfire. one of their islands, and opponent scoops it up. Opponent is on main deck, High Noon, blue-white control, Magebane Lizards in, and Scorching Shots out, one Fin Fang Foom out. Okay, Elish Norn. Yeah, that's the answer for Boros land destruction. And it's even cool. It doubles up our... What's that guy's name? Magmatic Hellkite trigger, so we get to blow up 2 lands with Magmatic Hellkite. Is Elish Norn main deck good? Stifles exist in blue, but I don't think there's any that are good enough. We need more than just one-shot effects. What does the blue-white control list that uses Lotus Field, Strict Proctor. How does Strict Proctor read? Oh, this works too. Whenever a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability to trigger, counter it unless they pay 2. Okay. So it doesn't completely shut it off, but it does make their sacrifice effects cost... They need 4 mana to get the Strict Proctor off the battlefield. The second Strict Proctor is basically game over. Okay. Again, it's in white. I don't know if there's a red. We need an artifact that does that. I was messing around with Hate Bear lists. Yeah. Honestly, I think Hate Bear lists almost need to be on it because that deck has been super popular lately. Well, we have 3 Price of Freedom effects, so we can trade with a counterspell here. Yep. Opponent, yeah, trading a Price of Freedom for a Dovin's Veto on turn 2. Oh, it affects... Okay, so that... Alright, we have 3 Fable the Mirror Breakers. Against control in this situation, it's fine to trade 1 for 1 to keep the pressure up. All right, we draw Snow-Covered Mountain. So this turn we can go after Island, go after Plains. And then that puts them out of basics for next turn. We can also do this by going after one with Field of Ruin. Yeah, it affects us too. So what does that stop from us? Just the Magmatic Hellkite? All right, opponent gets a Plains, and then we will Price of Freedom Island. Opponent hasn't changed the equation. I think we just board out Magmatic Hellkite, bring in Strict Proctor. Opponent has a Consult the Star Charts. They're up to 4 cards in hand. They have 1 basic island left in the deck. They have a Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. Why would it stop Roku? It stops these? I need to read Strict Proctor again. Entering. This isn't an enters the battlefield trigger. This is a triggered ability from Fable. All right, well, let's see if they drew another counterspell. We can get them off of basics this turn if they didn't draw a counterspell. Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah, they always draw the counterspells. Well, I think this is slightly showing a weakness of mono red. the fact that we don't have a road to top deck into to answer this Teferi. Opponent finds a stock up. All right, well, on the draw against 4 counter spells into Teferi, I don't think there's very many decks that can beat that draw. We're going to try, so Field of Ruin the Hamlet. Opponent's out of basics. Fable the Mirror Breaker. Man, they just... Yeah, they found... We have 2 more turns to answer this Teferi. But we're pretty dead here. We'll play out 1 more turn. All right, Elspeth, we'll scoop it up after this. Not having a road is really bad in positions like that. But on the play, I think we're safe. Yeah, that was just a brutal draw from them. Them having the exact counter spells that lined up against what we had. In like plus hitting all the land drops with no card draw into Teferi. You know, sometimes that's how it goes. All right, double Demolition Field. Hand and 2 flashbacks. We only have 1 flashbackable spell right now. But we're going to keep this. Opponent mulligans to 6 and scoops it up. Like enemies in the Pioneer format, Blue-White controls probably first, but we're a very close second. All right, opponent. We love to see starting towns. This... Oh no. This deck. Bloodghast is coming back. Exhibition Tidecaller. We have a removal spell for that. But they are going to get to mill 8 cards. Okay. Killed the Tidebinder. They hit an Amalgam and a Narc. Okay. They hit another Narcomoeba and a Prized Amalgam. Okay, we find the Avengers disassembled. So we can answer all of this next turn. We're not going to take 20. Let's just go after a starting town. There's a chance that this deck is either like just not on any basics. Okay, they are on 1 swamp. Oh, whoops. So we're taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 damage this turn. So we take 9, go down to... I mean, I think that's where we're going to be at this game, is beating it by it whiffing. All right, what is this? Choose target creature, planeswalker, or vehicle, mill 2 cards, then destroy the chosen permanent. Oh, that's kind of cool. All right, opponent has another Otherworldly Gaze. Oh, opponent has a Creeping Chill. Puts us to 17. They haven't milled any more basics. An opponent gets back a Silver Smoke Ghoul. We get to Avengers Disassembled, wipe the board, destroy starting town. We'll see if they have a second basic. They probably have an island. They do have an island. Oh my gosh, but the island triggers the Bloodghasts to get the Prized Amalgams back. What a disaster. So we are taking 5, so we're dead to any Creeping Chills. Opponent hits a Narcomoeba. So this next turn, we're going to flashback Avengers Disassembled, and if they have another basic land, then we're... Oh, this has haste. Are we dead? We're at 1. Well, if they have another basic land in their deck, we're dead. Oh, but this can just be cast. What is this? Cast this card from your hand using its warp cost, exile it, then you may cast it, and it can be cast from the graveyard. All right, we're dead. Yeah, we need anger. Frostbite's out. Soul Guide Lanterns in. Magebane Lizard in. Scorching Shot out. Sure. Yeah, I don't see this deck very often, so I don't know if we need to necessarily over compensate the sideboards for this dredge deck, but it is really annoying when we do have to play against it. All right, we have... Sure, we'll keep this. I run it to it and Greasefang off. Oh. Well, yeah, if you're running into it often, then I think it's probably worth it. Price of Freedom, this. Right now, I'm assuming that they are on 2 basics. 1 swamp, 1 island. All right, they hit a Narcomoeba and a bunch of lands, but not their basic swamp. All right, they bring back Bloodghast. They have a Timeline Cutter. Would love for them to just cast this Timeline Cutter and pass. Another Tome Scour is a disaster here. See what their play is. Okay, they're just casting the Timeline Cutter. That was probably best case scenario for us. Let's go Snow-Covered Mountain, Avengers Disassembled. Yeah, it feels so attached to Grafted. Yeah, I get it. This deck is... So, I'm going to do an interesting play here. I'm assuming that they're only on 2 basics. And just slamming Avengers Disassembled here only gets 1 power off the board. Black mana stops Timeline Cutter. Blue mana stops their instants. Let's go after the island. Okay, opponent's out of lands. So next turn we can Demolition Field this starting town and then Avengers Disassembled the swamp. All right, opponent has an Otherworldly Gaze. We just have to avoid getting comboed this turn by some crazy amount of Creeping Chills plus like prized amalgams, but looks like they don't have it. All right, so we will just go, yeah, Demolition Field on the starting town. Reason for Tormod's in this. And yeah, Tormod's being 0 mana is nice. And then, yep, destroy the swamp, kill all the creatures. Opponent scoops it up. Okay. We have a pathway to victory against this deck. We now know they're on 2 basics. So that's pretty easy to knock them off of. Turn 1 Tormod for free. Go is huge. Big turn 2 with land destruction. Yeah. Tormod being cast for free off of Legend of Roku is also nice. We're not cycling, but I do like the ability of Soul Guide Lantern to go in and snipe a Parhelion against Greasefang. They both have their advantages. Would love to see a Soul Guide Lantern in our hand in Game 3. Being on the draw against this deck can be brutal. We're going to mulligan this hand. Sure, we will keep a 6 with a Soul Guide Lantern. We don't draw a removal spell for that. One-shot graveyard effects are... Holy cow. Yeah, so... Get rid of... Wow. Holy... That was one of the craziest Soul Guide Lanterns. We hit 2 Bloodghasts, a Prized Amalgam, a Silver Smote's Ghoul, and a Timeline Cutter. That was... Thank you, Soul... That is like the best Soul Guide Lantern ever. Alright, turn 2. Let's just go Mountain and Price of Freedom, one of their lands. Won't be me. Yeah, that was... We couldn't have asked for much better. We have not won yet. They still have the Tidecaller in play. They have a second Tidecaller. So if they have an instant here, they have a Thought Erasure. That's... They just hit a Timeline Cutter. They hit a Bloodghast, but they've already played their land for turn. Avengers Disassembled off the top would be crazy good draw. Oh, but Surveilling this doesn't do anything. All right, just a basic Mountain. All right, so we can... Did they hit another Bloodghast? They hit another Bloodghast. Our options here are Fable of the Mirror Breaker set up for next turn, or Flashback Price of Freedom. I think we have to go with Fable. Avengers Disassembled is the way that we stabilize this game. And yeah, opponent is going to go nuts this turn. They find a Creeping Chill to get back a Silver Smoke Ghoul. Nothing off the second one. Have they milled their swamp yet? They have not milled their swamp. Opponent's getting very lucky with... Oh, sorry. We have the swamp exiled. Opponent plays a Timeline Cutter. Otherworldly Gazes. They're milling 4 more. They hit a Creeping Chill. We're down to 14. I think we're taking 2 off this Timeline Cutter attack. Yeah, we'll take 2. Go to 12. End step, they get a bunch of stuff back. So we are at Avengers Disassembled or Bust, I think, this turn. That's not an Avengers Disassembled. We'll discard land plus Legend of Roku. And we don't find the Avengers Disassembled. So we can play Snow-Covered Mountain. Actually, do these come back this next turn? Play this Magmatic Hellkite. We got to leave the Goblin Shaman back as a blocker. No attacks, but they're getting 2 prized amalgams back. I think we have one more turn to hit a Avengers Disassembled. Opponent hits a Narc Amoeba. That's fine. We just have to dodge Creeping Chills. But opponent only has 11 cards left in their deck. Opponent plays a Watery Grave untapped. And I'm assuming sends in with everything here. Hastes out a Timeline Cutter. Yep. Opponent is attacking with everything. Just block. Prized Amalgam, block. Silver Smoke Ghoul, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, well, we don't find the Avengers Disassembled, and we are dead. We don't have one in the graveyard, right? Nope. Alright, brutal to... Dakthos and Heliod, yeah. The mono white lists that I've seen are like control. Oh my god, well. The arena metagame is adapted to land destruction. Opponent takes cleanse Hellkite. That makes sense. Is this the same opponent from earlier? Opponent's a floater. Can't imagine what they have in their deck for 1 blue mana. Yep, floating for no reason. So next turn we can blow up this Shipwreck Marsh. Our opponent has a Cryogen Relic. Are they missing lands? Oh, opponent is missing lands. Let's Cleansing Wildfire. We really need to hit this Legend of Roku on curve. We really need to hit this Legend of Roku on curve. Opponent is stumbling. That's the only way. Opponent, this towns. And they hit lands, and we don't. Okay. Price of Freedom, Island. We find the land, but we really needed to play Legend of Roku that turn. Yep, and opponents hitting their lands. They find a Narset. If they minus here, all right, they do minus. We're gonna Frostbite this. Oh wait, sorry, this isn't turned on yet. Yep, opponent finds a Hopeless Nightmare, and that is likely going to be able to beat us. Legend of Roku, if we hit Mountain, we don't hit a mountain. We hit another Demolition Field. Pass the turn. We have a decent turn next turn of make a red mana, cast Magmatic Hellkite, cast Price of Freedom. Opponent has another Hopeless Nightmare. We'll discard 1 Avengers Disassembled. Do they have another This Town? They have a This Town. That's a disaster for us. They replay another Hopeless Nightmare. We'll discard... At this point, it's Frostbite. Oh, what? Sorry, I forgot. Narset does stop Price of Freedom. All right, play Magmatic Hellkite. If they have an effect that makes us sacrifice this, though, we're going to scoop it up. All right. Game 2. Magebane Lizards in. Scorching Shots out. 1 Fin Fang Foom out. I think, so after today, my thoughts on this mono red Skred list are it's very it's a really cool idea. Frostbite has felt good. The core land destruction package has also felt matchup dependent, but it's strong enough. And playing 11 basics has felt smooth. That being said, and this goes for Boros too, we need something in the sideboard to juke into against the decks that are playing a bunch of basics. I think if land destruction decks want to be meta in the Pioneer format, they need a way to win when your opponent's on a lot of basics. And the Jeskai deck does a good job of that, of having Jeskai Revelation to go over the top of the decks and being able to interact on the stack and just being able to slam down a bunch of prowess tokens. This mono red deck has a lot of issues, like we saw today, of if our opponent is not weak to run 2 Soul Guide, 2 Anger in the main. Yeah. If our opponent's not weak to Price of Freedom and Cleansing Wildfire, this deck just looks like very underpowered. I'm glad we tried this deck out today. I think there's potential here. I want to readdress it. I'm going to look for what we can sideboard juke into. Having 8 cards in the sideboard that we can cut Cleansing Wildfire, cut Price of Freedom, bring in some sort of sideboard juke. I think that's where this deck needs to go.